This is the Player 4 Podcast. Join us each week as we talk about video games, entertainment, and pop culture, and bring in guests from the Rooster Teeth community. Player 4 has entered the game.
Yeah! What's up, ladies and gents? It's the Player 4 Podcast!
Hello, I am Tristan, aka Shagrazir, on the Rooster Teeth website.
I am Alex, aka Chaos Black 21.
I'm Malachi, aka Suki Kiba.
I almost thought you were going Christian Bale Batman. I'm Malachi.
I think he was trying to.
And I don't like cheese.
Cheese we don't like.
And I'm Joseph, aka Jay Dunlap. And Alex, it's so funny that you did that intro because last week I said, sup ladies and germs, and you said, sup ladies and gents.
I mean, it's a classic that you gotta say every now and then.
Laddies and gents.
Lads and gents.
Lads and lasses.
Team
Oh my goodness.
Who are you? Are you team lads or team gents?
Yeah, lads and lasses, what be the topics for us today are...
The topics for today, because we can finally get to those, we were going to start off with a little chit-chat. We're going to start off tonight with a little talk about Halloween and what people are doing for that, since it's Halloween today. Then we're going to move into some RWBY, since Season 4 is currently releasing from our friends at Rooster Teeth. Then we're moving into our main topic, which is D&D, since there's a lot of that going around. And finally, we're going to talk to you about Peep Warcraft, because we can't get enough of that Minecraft. Found that Minecraft.
Malachi, so you wanted to talk about Halloween, so we gave you some time. Talk about Halloween.
It was not. I just wanted to, I didn't know if we've ever talked about our favorite movies for the Halloween season. I've always, as a kid, have been in love with Nightmare Before Christmas.
I love the Nightmare Before
My
Christmas.
kids are actually currently watching it.
That's the only Halloween movie, in my opinion.
Pretty much any other would be Bram Stoker's Dracula is always a classic to watch during Halloween. For me, at least.
I feel like with the recent passing of Gene Wilder, there's one more movie to watch this year.
Young
Charlie and the
Frankenstein. No, shut up. No.
No, not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No, shut up. Young Frankenstein.
I mean, it is a little bit scary.
No, the scary one is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
It's
Factory.
true.
With Johnny
That
Depp.
one
That's
is
scary.
a little bit super terrifying.
Oh, Alex
I
is
love
trolling.
Johnny Depp. I really do. I really love Johnny Depp, but I don't know about that one, man.
Alright, that's all I was curious is what was some of you guys' favorites, just real quick. Was curious.
I was just talking as I was leaving work today with one of my colleagues came up to me and was trying to get together a list of movies that he should start to watch through and get in the Halloween spirit. And he was listing off all these ones that somebody else had talked to him about that I'd never heard of. But we definitely agreed on movies like Cabin in the Woods. We both love Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh my god, that's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah,
I
that's
don't count
funny.
that as a Halloween movie.
It doesn't matter.
I love how it's considered horror, but it's pretty much just a comedy.
Yeah.
It's a gore comedy.
It's a comhorror or a horrody. A
Wow.
horrody.
That's a different genre entirely.
Go back to Horror Island.
Rule 34.
Wow. Please, I do not want any Rule 34 of Alex.
Actually, I haven't written the fan fiction about him yet.
Needs to be done.
I do have a
Lacking.
picture of my face pasted onto a mermaid body.
Okay, anyway,
not-
Malachi.
Wow.
What's one of yours, Joseph?
I was going to ask whether a scary movie qualifies as a Halloween movie.
Sure.
Or rather, Shaun of the Dead. Does that qualify?
That's a nice zombie movie. That was. I always like whatever that main guy's name is. That he usually
The
is in
guys
those.
from Hot Fuzz.
Yes, I love that cast.
Can't think of his name, which is killing me. Like, Malachi's like, that guy, I can't remember his name. He's like, dude, that's... Crap, I can't think of it either. It's not Sean Penn, it's the other Penn.
It's
Yeah, I know. I was like, it's Penn. It's not Sean. I don't want to act. I don't
the
want to sound
other
stupid.
Sean Penn.
It's something
Well-
else, Penn.
Well,
Penn
yeah,
and Teller.
I would
Oh.
even as a comedy, I consider it a decent Halloween movie because it has the undead in it, and usually
So
Halloween's
then why
about
is
scaring
Tucker and
off.
Dale versus Evil not a good choice?
I didn't say that.
No, but somebody else did.
I
Yeah.
said that I don't consider movies Halloween movies unless they have some kind of Halloween element to it.
But
Like actual Halloween,
Tucker and Dale versus
not-
Evil is just a
It's a horrity.
sure.
I already said you'd
I was
going to
be say
using
it's a
term.
parody of the of Deliverance.
But no, I love Tucker and Dale versus Evil, but I don't consider it a Halloween movie.
It doesn't
What
take
would
place
you
on
watch
Halloween.
then?
Nightmare Before Christmas. That's my Halloween movie. That's all I care about.
Alright. I got an idea for
No
everyone.
more vuvuzelas. We don't have any vuvuzelas.
Alright, we're done with
I
Halloween.
broke all of them.
Alright,
At
we're
least
done
you
with
broke
Halloween.
my mouth.
Done.
Yes.
We're
This
done.
is Halloween.
With my-
Halloween.
Alright. So let's start talking about RWBY now.
Halloween. Okay, go
We're
ahead.
done with Halloween, I guess. I'm glad we're done with Halloween. By the way, I'm playing the Super Curmudgeon this week, living up to the title that Joseph gave me. I turned off all the exterior lights to my apartment so
by
that
the way-
trick-or-treaters don't come anywhere near me. 'Cause I have
And
no candy for them.
and another thing, it wasn't Penn. It was Simon Pegg.
Peg. P-E and 2 consonants that are the same one.
I'm just glad I got to bring
Pell?
back and another thing.
Damn it.
All right, Curmudgeon. Move us
Stealing my
into the
thunder.
next topic.
Talk about the
Alex,
RWBY.
Alex, what did we watch today?
It starts with an R and ends with Ubi.
RWBY.
Damn it. That's not
RWBY
it.
Volume 4. The second episode came out this past weekend.
Yay! So, last time it was Volume 3. We went up a whole number, and a lot of other things, I think, changed, didn't they?
Yeah, I was waiting for to be RWBY Volume 4 Electric Boogaloo, but that didn't happen.
It's got to be 2. The second one is the Electric Boogaloo.
No, I think it'd be funny if they did it as not the second one.
Oh.
Just to bait
More
out the
ironic.
actually.
It's got to be Ruby 2 Electric Boogaloo. It's got to rhyme. You can't don't mess with my rhyme scheme, man. So in RWBY 4, what have they done? They've got a whole new animation scheme, like we talked about when we talked about the trailer. Now we've kind of gotten to see it in full action, how they interact conversationally and in combat.
yes,
And
the animation
I don't
does look different from the past 3.
how do you feel about it?
It takes a little getting used to, but I'm starting to get used to it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that now that you're starting to get used to it, do you think it's an improvement, or do you think that you preferred the other one for some reason?
I think I'm going to like it more. I don't know. I think it looks smoother, I think, in my opinion. So I think over time, people are talking about it. I think over time it's just going to be something normal for us. Like every season, they're going to just keep making it better and different.
I think that we can objectively, not even subjectively, but objectively say it is smoother. The movement and actions are more fluid. They feel more like an anime as opposed to these rigid models that people are really struggling with the rigging for. I feel like they've got a very natural feel to the way they move as opposed to the first 3 volumes. And that is because they're using a different system. They got rid of Poser, I believe. I think that some of the original charm has been lost in translation. One thing that I noticed that I was telling you about the other day was that, interestingly enough, I found that at least in the first episode, and still a bit in the second episode even, the mouth moving didn't match up with the voice acting as well as it did with the old animation system.
I can agree to that. I definitely saw that, especially in the second episode. I saw that more. I mean, yeah, it's kind of bad that I noticed it more in the second episode than the first. You'd think that there'd be less.
Yeah, and I didn't pay as much attention to it in the second episode because there was a lot of good story going on. So, but that shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to rely on people being distracted by something to not notice a flaw.
I'm hoping that it's just because, like you said, it's kind of a new system, so they're still trying to fully kind of get the feel for it to get those mouths working with the voice acting, but
yeah. I mean, it seems like such a strange thing to pick out. It stuck out to me because one of the things that I really took notice of when RWBY first came out was that, yeah, this doesn't have the smooth, refined look of any anime that I tend to watch, but they're using an interesting system, and the character designs are really nice. Their motions are a little rigid, but the mouth movements with the voice acting was on point. And that really stuck out in my mind, going, okay, that's pretty cool. They're having a little trouble with other things, but they really nailed the mouth movement, which was important because it was a very talky show. And then in this season, it kind of hit me in the face, like, whoa, they're not matching up. And it feels so shallow to point such a small thing out. But again, it's a really talky show, so you spend a lot of time with somebody's face taking up 75% of the screen, and if their mouth isn't moving with their words, you can't help but notice it.
Mm-hmm. And we also, both of us talked about the fighting.
Yes.
How that's changed a little bit, how they've kind of changed it. It's a little slower. The actions, you can actually see the character is like what they're actually doing. It's not like the typical anime style where like everything's moving really fast, and so you just assume that they're doing moves.
Right.
Because lines are going all around them.
I think that this is something that we're going to see improve over time, but I think it is because they have this new way of rigging the models, that they have more control and a more fluid and natural look to the movements. I think they're really trying to utilize it and make the most of it. I think that in the first couple seasons, they really did just kind of fall back on the anime way of handling complex actions, where they just did like a swooshy effect and didn't actually animate it. They left it up to your imagination.
Yeah. I just think it's odd that people were commenting it and saying that they actually like the old style better, because I like the fact that I get to see what the character's actually doing. I like the framing that they've done on the shots during the battles, and some people don't really care for that, it seems.
I think that it is a matter of preference, but again, I still think it's something that's going to be refined as they continue to use this new method or find better methods as time goes on. I think that I think that the people who don't like it have a point. The old way, while requiring less work and having less actual substance, I think it did have merits where it just looked better. You truncated the animation and you allowed the animation to flow better. In this, they're animating almost every frame. They're each and every movement. They're not letting the swooshiness cover it up. I think that given time, we'll actually see, some really cool development with that. I could be wrong, but that's my take on it.
Yep, we'll see. Do we want to go into anything that's happened so far, or are we just going to let that go for later on?
I think you just want to, rub in my face that they're bad writers like you.
What do you mean?
Alex doesn't know what he got himself into.
Yeah. I mean, there is something we discussed that we were like, wait, they said they were going to do something, and then they didn't end up doing it.
You're going to have to lead that discussion, because I've forgotten.
It was during the battle.
Yeah, that was fun.
They said they were...
we can talk about that.
Okay, so they're batting this giant obelisk monster.
In the first episode.
Yeah, and so they come up with a plan. Sean comes up with a plan. He's like, okay, you're going to attack this arm, you're going to attack this arm, and you're going to attack the legs. And we're going to knock them off all at the same time.
So and then we're going to go after the thing's face.
Yeah.
Because every time we attack it, it just brings up an arm or a leg and protects his face.
Yeah.
So he comes up with this plan, and of course John had to come up with this, because wonderful, useless John decided to go into this fight without a weapon.
So they start doing the plan. One goes after one arm, hits it, and then that's just basically it. They don't actually take the arm off. The second one does the same exact thing. And they don't attack it in a way that actually knocks it off balance in any way. They attack it, and then the thing recovers from the attack, from defending itself, so that it can defend itself again, rather than coordinating their attack to throw it off balance and prevent it from protecting itself. Yeah. And then the third person, who's supposed to go after the legs, immediately after they come out with the plan, John's like, okay, are you ready to try out the new move? Go power up. So instead of attacking the legs, she powers up.
Smashes it straight in the face.
Yeah, and then they all combine their attack to hit it in the face. So rather than taking limbs off, they just go after the face anyways.
That seems
It just
very
happens
confusing.
to not be able to defend itself against this super move. Really, the complaint is that they went through the trouble of writing this interesting strategy and coming up with this interesting monster, and then they immediately hamstrung all their attempts at intrigue and just smashed it in the face DBZ style.
Yeah. Overall, though, I like so far the 2 episodes, what they put into it. And
yeah, there are still elements to enjoy. Yeah. The animation style is new and interesting and good. There's a lot of expressiveness. There was a lot of expressiveness in the original, but I feel like there's a lot more body expression that's a lot less clunky looking, so you can appreciate it better. And they still have all the facial expressiveness.
And they're certainly already bringing up questions here in these first 2 episodes as well.
Bad guys and plots within schemes, within conundrums, within...
Yep, and RWBY hearing things.
I was really worried, and this only made me more worried that there was going to be...
This sounds like a topic for another episode.
Yeah. We can move on. I know Joseph wants to move on.
So where are we going now?
D&D. Dungeons and Dragons. No, I said the Vuvuzelas are done. God, where do you keep getting these things?
I just have a closet full of them.
I'm going to burn your house
He
down.
has to go get them by coming out of the closet.
Joseph.
Bad dad jokes.
So D&D is short for what?
Dungeons and
Dragons.
Dicks and dicks.
All right,
you,
bleeps
Al.
and bleeps.
This is why we can't have nice discussions.
So
I have
let's
to have at least 2 bleeps.
So to
Well-
introduce this topic, let's start off by saying that there is a yet unaired episode of P4 Craft where Tristan invites Alex to join his D&D group. Alex has said on the podcast he was joining Tristan's D&D group for beginners, and it was his first game that he'd ever played in. And then a few weeks ago I joined the group, and that's where we're at. We're talking about the campaign that Tristan is running for us.
Yes. So, I have a bunch of people from the RT community who found me on the official Dungeons & Dragons thread on RT. They were inspired by Heroes and Halfwits and wanted to try out D&D, and were looking for a GM. And I said, I'll give it a shot. And now I've got Alex and Joseph in my game, and Alex is playing a Dragonborn Paladin, and Joseph has created a human barbarian who hasn't gotten to fight yet because they're in a explory, talky bit of story, and fighting hasn't begun yet.
Can I
When the
roleplay that
fighting
I'm
does
fighting?
begin, he's not going to be there.
Yeah. You could just make
So-
them talk to things again. That way I can kill things next week.
It's true. So I think Joseph really wanted to touch on world building and how to generate story with this segment.
Yeah, I thought maybe we could start off with just sort of recapping what had happened in your campaign. We could go from there into the worlds that we have both built for our D&D campaigns.
Sure, we can do that. So to quickly run through that, before Joseph joined the campaign, since he's only just started, there was quite a bit of story with the other players in a world that I built that exists as a sort of a supercontinent that has lots of different biomes all over it. And they started in the frozen north in a kingdom that was celebrating many years of peace and prosperity under their king, and then which immediately came under attack. Or rather, it had been under ongoing assault by orcs, which are a classic D&D monster, for several years, which had been increasing in number and deadliness. And so the players went to talk to the king and asked to be given leave and resources to help root out this orc problem. So they gathered together as a party, having met up during the festivities consisting of, feats of strength and drinking, got together and started hunting orcs. They went out into the woods and started tracking them down. And along the way, they learned that one of the local orc clans had recently undergone a change in leadership, and the new leader was not an orc at all, but a human, and seemed to be instructing them to attack the human city nearby more and more over the last several years. So they went on a long journey till they reached the home encampment, the home city of the orcs, whereupon they found that the leader, the human, was a powerful mage who had managed to teleport all of the orcs there into the city. And they followed them through the teleportation circle to find that the city had been completely invaded and taken over, that the throne had been usurped, and the king had been taken prisoner. So they then went on a rescue mission. They rescued the king, freeing him and his guards, and then challenged this human leader of the orcs and took on her powerful magics and all of her orcs, and managed to defeat her and save the city, whereupon they were made heroes of this kingdom. So that's the summary with minor details.
It was a good journey. It was a good one.
And Alex is salty because he got knocked unconscious in the fight against the mage. So I've tried, and I'm still trying to, and I'm still new to GMing, so, I'm going to make mistakes and do things in a less efficient or less interesting way than they could be done. But, we're all learning and we're all playing and having a good time. So the first rule to running and playing D&D is have fun. Just have fun with it. If there's an issue with a character or with the world, just make the best of it if you can, and take it up with the DM on the side, but just be having the best time you can and make your own fun. And if there's nothing you can do to improve the fun in the game, then it's just not a game that you should be in. Don't stay in a game that you're not having fun in. That's rule number one. Then there's world building for DMs out there, and Joseph and I were trying to break this down. And I was convinced that, you can make any physical appearance to the world work as long as you use a bit of logic in putting things together, use a little understanding of geography and geology, and you can have any shape of world. After that, it's developing cultures that would utilize the resources you've given them or made available. What kind of world did you make in your campaign? Mine's a very standard D&D, very, if you played Skyrim, you'll recognize a lot of the themes and how the geography and cultures are set up. But Joseph went for a very much more imaginative and original world, didn't you?
Well, there's two worlds you might be referring to. I have a classic D&D style setting. I've done D&D, Pathfinder, and my own custom rule system in this system. I've done it on forums, I've done it in real life, I'm about to do it on Skype, hopefully. It is much like what Tristan did, which is having a basic understanding of geography and just going from there. However, when I started out, it was just one session where I made a little village, and from there, the next session, I made a road that led to another village. The world expanded outward. Before long, within a month or so, I had a whole region filled with this whole group of cities connected by a road that merchants would travel. From there, I expanded outward. Well, what's beyond the farmland? So my world has sort of expanded out from this origin point. And now it's sort of a half-explored continent that the only places really labeled are those that have been pertinent to the story. And everything else is just sort of left blank. Or maybe there's an area that relates to somebody's backstory. Now, Tristan, you could also be asking about the planet that I had to create this summer for a game.
I think that's the one you told me about.
Yes, that one I wanted to try something different. This summer, my regular weekly group said that they wanted to try something new because a lot of them are college students and not all of them were in town during the summer. So there's whoever was in town, we made a fresh campaign that didn't relate to the fantasy setting. I asked them, do you want to do space? Do you want to do steampunk? Do you want aliens? And they said, yes, yes, yes.
Oh, good.
So what we did...
Glad we got that out of the way.
We came up with this history very similar to EVE Online, which I've talked about, right? Where they find the portal near Earth, and they colonize this area, and they call it EVE. And after a long time of colonizing all these planets, the portal just goes away. So everyone's just sort of stranded where they are. It's a kind of similar concept in this game that we did this summer, which was that humanity found a portal, a wormhole perhaps, and went through it to colonize. When we got there, we found that we weren't the only ones doing this, that there was an alien race that had also been going through a wormhole and exploring this same exact area. But before long, like not much time had passed, both portals just whoop went away and sent out a huge an EMP, that wiped out all the technology, and everyone was stranded on their given planets. So the story...
So you say it wiped out all the technology.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand that you're saying it wiped out spaceflight, but did it knock everybody back into the Dark Ages?
It knocked them back to Middle Ages with the knowledge of how to bring themselves very quickly into semi-mechanical age. And what happened on the planet in which the story was going on was we were about 250 years into its history of being colonized. There had been a big world war between the human race and the alien race, neither of which were indigenous to the planet. And we were in a period of all the new, younger generations weren't familiar with all this hostility, so they were the ones that had the easiest time living with each other. And the technology, since it couldn't be electrical-based because of the EMP burst, there was an energy around the planet that was keeping electrical technology from being used. Instead, they replaced it with steam technology. So it was a steampunk planet that was not Earth, that had the human race and had an alien race, and there was also an indigenous race that they only saw like signs of but never actually encountered. For this particular world, I wanted to try something different, as Tristan was referring to. So I just drew the oval shape that you have for a map of the world, and I drew tectonic plates. And it took me a while. It took me like a few hours to just come up with tectonic plates. From there, came up with the concept of where the continents would be, came up with this concept, rather than with Earth, we have Pangea, that kind of divided into 4. This was a concept of a Triforce. It was 3 continents that sort of exist in a sort of circle. From there, the next thing is deciding all the topography based off of that, but we never actually got that far. Should we get that far, though, rather than what Tristan and I do with our fantasy setting, was actually going to be very based on geology and how tectonic plate motion and different things affect the topography of the world.
And is that going to affect the technology available in certain areas?
It may very well. I know that there are going to be places that's just inhabited by one race or by the other, whereas other places, such as where we were playing our adventure, are more wilderness where nobody really cares.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. The alien race, we decided, was a little bit oblivious to sarcasm because their race was based off of pheromones and emotion being worn on the sleeve as a result. There's nothing to hide, so then when somebody's being disingenuous, they don't know. They have to sort of figure it out.
They're completely literal and it's going to go right over their head?
No, I would catch
Nothing
it.
will go over there. I would catch it.
My reflexes are too fast.
So bringing it back to world building, Tristan, what is the first thing that you put into your approach of world building? What is your priority?
The first thing I do when I'm world building for a campaign is I decide the type of culture that I want the game to start off in. So similar to your game where you said you started with a town and then you made a road that led to another town and you started branching out, I start with the first city. And I say, I want this city to look like this. I want the buildings to be built like this. I want the people to talk like this. And I want the government to function like this. And that's what I start with. And then I say, okay, now that I have this, why I start looking at what geographical or geological constraints would cause them to probably look or function like that. Like if I wanted a city that was built mostly of stone, are they in the mountains? Are they in a big rock flat where there's lots of quarry stone around? And I go from there, starting with what I want. And the reason I start with where the campaign begins is I'm slow, and I'm not going to come up with the entire world before the campaign. But as the campaign is playing, I'm coming up with areas that haven't been visited or thought about yet. That's my thing. So I start with what's the look and feel of the area that we're starting in, and then I expand out to the rest of the world and say, okay, this is going to be on this portion of a continent because we're working in this kind of a climate. And then I draw the continent from there based on the position of the first town. And then I determine based on how large the continent is and what portion of the globe it covers, what different climates around that continent are going to be. And then I decide if I want to have multiple continents. I start building a world. And I actually just base a lot of it, like I said, logically, I base a lot of it on Earth. You know, I say, how does Earth work? How do the climates and different biome zones tend to abut each other, and why? You know, I look at the tectonic plates and say, okay, here's why I have a mountain range here, and it's because of this mountain range that I can have a desert right next to, effectively,
I've done the same exact thing.
Speaking, right next to a dense forest or an ocean, because mountains affect everything. They control air currents, which controls the movement patterns of weather systems. So if you're ever wanting to have different climate zones near each other, just have them separated by a high mountain range, because that will change everything from one zone to the next. Those are the kinds of things I look at, and I say I want to have a mountain range here, so these two areas can have differing climate zones, but I want these two areas to share a climate zone, so there won't be mountains here. Then I start just looking at things thematically. Like, literally, with my world, I wanted things to be pretty straightforward for the players, you know, very easy to understand. So I went with a very Tolkien-esque approach to the world. You know, this area is mountainous. This area is a lot of plains and
So you're talking
woodland.
like archetypal regions, Tolkien-esque.
Yeah. And it's made easy because I like I said, I draw inspiration from Earth, I draw inspiration from Tolkien, and I drew a lot of inspiration from the Elder Scrolls, because they did a lot of world building, and they had a lot of they had basically one continent that had lots of very diverse, disparate biomes to it, so that they could have very diverse and interesting cultures. And so I was going for a thematically similar thing. So you can be drawing a lot of inspiration from things that you read, games that you play, and the real world, and still be very original. We don't have a supercontinent on Earth. Tamriel isn't a supercontinent. It's just the only continent that the games take place in. But you feel free to utilize these things as inspiration without worrying about plagiarizing, because when you're building a world geographically like this, there's only so many things you can do.
I actually have a very, very similar approach in world building to yours, Tristan. The first question I ask is, what kind of stories do I want to tell, and how can the geography help tell the story? So I start off with, as I mentioned, a village, a road to another village, a road to another village. Eventually you get to a larger city. Eventually you get to the capital city. Then from there I start thinking, is there another region with its own capital city? And this was years ago when I started building this world. And from there I came up with this idea of a duality, a political duality between these two neighboring capital cities, that one region is heavily commerce driven from a river to the ocean at a port city. The other one coming from basically just south of that to the southern edge of where that same river goes. So then they don't have a port city. They don't have merchants going through. So they're a lot more agrarian than the other culture. So when I think about what I want to do with a region in my world, I actually think, what kind of stories am I going to tell, and what kind of sort of genre of story will it be? So I actually have regions already set out for just high fantasy versus I have a steampunk western region, which is like Wild West kind of stuff with a steampunk city. And then there's also a xenophobic witch hunting kind of area, and it's more of the Halloween-centric area. And I have a whole history to the world. I'd love to do an episode involving history as well. Would you guys be interested in that?
Maybe. I can't say for sure.
Yes. I like building the history of characters. I think that's fun.
I have a whole history in the world regarding like an ancient kingdom and the ruins of that ancient kingdom and a demon that keeps trying to get back into the world. So maybe for a later date, but we've kind of gone over time. Malachi and Tristan want to give Alex and me a hard time about something first before we say goodnight.
Oh, nope, too late. We have no time left.
Beep, 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 beep.
We've been
Where do they
living
keep
in-
coming from?
we've been living in the world made by 3x3, all alone, just the two of
The
us.
cubicle world?
We're in
Yes.
2x2. Malachi.
Oh, 2x2, 3x3. What the hell you want?
I don't know what
Yeah,
you
we're
mean.
in 2x2 because it's only the two of us.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and we've done some pretty nice stuff.
So what have you been doing in Minecraft?
You guys didn't even finish my pagoda.
We were supposed to finish it for
Yeah,
you?
we were supposed to do your work for you? What? Since when?
I have to record another episode of the podcast while they build your house for you.
You guys are helping me build my house. You would trust me with your services.
Oh,
That means you tell
Wait,
us what you want us to do, not we
And I
do it
said,
for
build
you.
a pagoda.
You sit there on a lawn chair, sipping tea, watching us do all the work.
He built that pagoda with one finger.
Yeah, over there a little. Good.
Hey, I was helping build it.
Come on, guys, it's
There's
hot over
video
here in the
evidence.
shade.
Yeah.
So we.
In the meantime, Alex has managed to lose his desert claim to debris.
Yeah. It seems like she keeps building all, deciding, changing where she wants to build. And then she
I
finally
agree.
decided, I'm going to build near Alex.
Tristan and I have been working on what we like to call the super farm.
The server farm. The super server
Super farm.
The SSF.
farm.
The SSF of awesome.
Just give up. Farm.
Farm.
So what's the super farm, guys?
It's the SS Awesome Farm, and so we basically wandered around the wilderness for a couple hours looking for a nice flat area that was scenic and mostly flat already, so we wouldn't have to do much terraforming, and we turned it into a giant garden of resources. Every type of food you could want, and every animal, every color of sheep. And it's also going to have a big repository of these things so that people can go there, take the resources they need from the chest. It's going to be available to everybody, and this is a service we like to provide to the servers, where it's just a single place where any player can go to get what they need for their build.
Is
And
this
it's
the
also-
friend farm of frienditude?
Yes.
We also build it mainly for ourselves to use so that we can stockpile stuff. So when we go on big projects, we're not having short resources. Oh, well, we're all out of this. Well, I guess we'll spend a couple days getting all this back. Now we could spend 3 days and have 3 weeks worth of supplies.
We're coming to the end of the episode, but I do want to say I have been playing some Minecraft. It's just that I think the times that Gina and I get on to play together is not times when anyone else plays. And we are almost done with my castle.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
At the coordinates you had already set?
Yeah, it's around the village that I claimed as my home. So you guys should come check that out. Currently, the only way in and out is to swim through the river, but there will be a door soon.
Well, you'll have to come check out the farm, too.
I will.
Are you ready to end for today?
Yes.
Yes.
Good night, Alex.
Alright.
Goodbye.
Good night, peeps.
That was
Hashtag goodbye.
anticlimactic.
Hashtag no.
Hashtag goodbye, Malachi.
Hashtag no. Lame.
Hashtag shut up, Malachi.
Hashtag why the heck are you hashtagging?
Hashtags are awesome.
Hash browns. Hashtag hash browns.
Hashtag
Hello,
the hashtag. Hashtag death to
Hashtag bow, 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 bow.
Hashtag no.